Good day, everybody. Tracy Brown here, your somatic dietitian and attuned eating specialist. And we are wrapping up our week, at least our video week, around compassion of all kinds. So compassion for just generally taking care of ourselves, compassion for learning to slow down. And today we're going to talk about body compassion. And today also happens to be Q&A Friday. So if you have any other kind of questions you want to ask, I would love to hear about it. And just in general, so the floor is open for that. But so let's just dive in and get started. Body compassion. Now, I don't just mean like my stomach hurts, so I shouldn't be mean to myself when my stomach hurts, and maybe my stomach would like some ginger, or maybe I just need to put a hot water bottle on my stomach, or maybe I need to be curious about what's not working in my life that I'm so wound up about. Those are compassionate questions for sure. But I'm actually going to talk about body image today. And I think a lot of us here, it's a lot easier for us to be compassionate and understanding and open and just get it, that we are all not meant to look the same way. I think we all rationally get that. But when it comes to ourselves, it's almost like, well, that's good for everybody else but me. And we have to understand that comes from wounding. It's not really a rational response, and I think we all know that. So that's not really the discussion today. But it's just being curious, is that where our bodies are is a combination of things that have happened and the genetics we have. And when I say things that have happened, like a lot of overwhelming circumstances. And of course, when we're in overwhelming circumstances, we do whatever we got to do to survive. And so, that's what dieting is like, right? We think that we have to be smaller to fit in, to be socially acceptable, to feel attractive or to be attractive, to disappear and take up less space, all the things. And so we know that a predictable consequence of dieting is the potential to weigh more, only because that's the body's adaptive strategy to survive the next famine. And instead of having compassion for that, that may be why your body weighs what it weighs. I don't know, maybe not. But it could be a factor. And I think that's really hard for people to have compassion for, because it's easy to just, if I just wouldn't have dieted, or just not having things happen, or just didn't live in such a crappy culture, then I wouldn't weigh this. But that's not really the point. It's, I'm blaming my body for doing something that it needed to do. And can we have compassion for that? Now, again, I'm not saying that's your circumstance. I'm just saying that I hear that a lot, that it's really hard for people to just have a deep reverence for my body only weighs what it weighs because it needs to. Whether that's genetics, whether that's out of adaptation survival, whether that's out of, I need to take a certain medication to make my life better. And this is the result. And that doesn't mean I'm bad or wrong or my body screwed up. That's just the better thing that needed to happen to be able to live more functionally. And can we have compassion for that? And I have found that one of the things that helps people the most, I'm not going to speak out of my own experience, because I could talk for hours about that, like how I got more body compassion, because even though living in a body that recovered small, I still hated myself in pretty much every way. And it took me after, work after the fact for that. So, but all that being said, is that I do think it takes time to say, body, and maybe having conversations with our body's body, you are exactly where you need to be, like for all the myriad of circumstances I've been in, and including the genetic blueprint that made it possible for this to happen. And usually the barrier that people have for that surrender is living in this culture and all the wounding we've had. So can we have compassion for that Like, this is where I'm in, this is where I'm at, this is what I'm in. And people hurt people. We live in all kinds of ways that aren't righteous and aren't good, and yet can we have compassion anyway? And that's not easy to do, and I think that's the call that we have. And I do. I've mentioned this book many times, When Women Stop Hating Their Bodies, to be able to do mirror work, to be able to do the journaling that's in that book that really talks about looking at bodies and like, well, who says that shape, that size, that texture, that squish, that hardness, that whatever is inherently good or bad? And we know the answer, that it's not inherently good or bad, and we should do all those things. But I think there's some level of, can I welcome the anger that I have about just being in a time and a space where what everybody looks like isn't welcome? And, can I have compassion for myself being a human in these times? And that might make it just a smidge, a droplet, a molecule more possible for you to, body, thank you for surviving and striving to thrive in spite of all this. And I know that's not an easy thing to do. I know it's not an easy thing to wonder what other people think, and are they capable of that? I think people are capable, but I think they've got to be hungry, and I think they've got to be desperate for it. And so maybe the path that we need to take is, am I desperate for compassion for my body? Not because all this week we've talked about functioning. I can be compassionate, like that I need to rest, that I need to go to the bathroom, that I might need more protein or fiber or more play food. I can be compassionate for, gosh, like when I get really stressed, that my senses get more heightened and food tastes a little bit more much, and maybe I need to have blander food. I can be compassionate for all that. I think that a lot of us can reach for that. Yeah, I'm going to mention this comment in a second. But can we be desperate for compassion for how we look? Just so hungry for it, so desperate for it, that we're willing. I think that's the key. And I don't think I've ever mentioned it in all these years. Gosh, I'm here unpacking some stuff of for me and myself. How did I get here? Can we be desperate? I was desperate to not hate myself, to not hate how my body looked. And I know this is, if you have any projection, well, it's easy for you. I understand that, but we all have to be desperate to I don't want to hate myself. I don't want to hate how I look. I'm going to be desperate for that. And I think compassion starts to rise up out of that, because we just don't want to have the hate anymore, the self-hate, even if the whole world hates. It's I'm just desperate not to feel that way. I don't want to be part of that. So I want to mention a comment here. Yeah, reading that book in 2004. I'm telling you guys, there's a lot of good books out there. There's a lot of great books out here that are current now, that are accumulating all this wisdom. But I think it's still my very favorite body image book, When Women Stop Hating Their Bodies. And I don't think you have to... I think it's even a good book for people who don't identify that way, because it doesn't matter what your body size is. I've had a lot of clients who are in smaller bodies be really uncomfortable with that book, because it's hardcore. Hey, look at your body and who says. And that book wasn't around. I wish I would have had that book. I know I wouldn't have been ready for it too, like the commenter here saying in 1996 or 7. But a couple years after that, I would have been that would have been my desperation book of I am so done. I'm done. I don't want to hate my body anymore. And if you're not at the place of I want to be done with this, you know that you still have a function for that. And there's a belief in there that if I don't continue to be mean to my body, I'm letting go of something. And that's what you get really clear about. And I think that's where your gold is and your freedom is. So I hope this video was helpful. If it was, please share it with people that just need to hear that sometimes it's that desperation of I've had enough. I've had enough of hating my body, of the softness, of the size, of what I think I should or shouldn't be able to do with it. It's like, can we be compassionate for all the reasons I've gotten here and stop hating? And even if you're like, I don't know how to like my body, don't worry about that. Let's just start with, can I be willing to even, like, I understand where I got that hatred from, why I think I have to keep hating my body, because it connects me with something, that at least it's something. There's just something better for you. And I promise that. So thank you all so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you next week in a new video series. If you have requests, please message me. You can do it here, private message, email, whatever's good for you, and I will put that in the hopper so for discussion. Thank you all so much for watching, and take care. Bye.